Hey, welcome to Randy's Road Life, where today we have a video that's not necessarily about truck driving, but dealing with the current political state of affairs. Um, I wanted to state something, and it's not a mantra of mine. It's not something that I think is an emergency, but I think records need to be, I guess, straightened out. The gaslighting, um, the really it comes down to we see facts, but it becomes more about what I feel other than what is real. It's what I feel other than what is real. So if I feel it, that means it's true, regardless of what the facts or the truth really is, right? Because in our day and age today, truth is subjective, according to some people, but I beg to differ because truth is not subjective. All right, I cannot identify myself as anything I want to be because reality has dictated, i.e., God has dictated what reality is, and that reality cannot be changed whatsoever. So that's where that is, and so let's really get into it. Okay, in my younger years, right? I'm 49 as of October the 11th. In my younger years, I would have considered myself a Democrat because I was very ignorant of the Democratic Party, where it came, its inception, where it came from, and all of its political beliefs and doings and things like that, who was associated with the Democrat Party. So let's really get into that, right? The Republican Party is not as old as the Democratic Party, people. The star of the Republican Party actually really became known as it is because of Abraham Lincoln. He was a Republican who penned the Emancipation Proclamation. But the Democratic Party, do your homework, okay, is the party of Jim Crow. It is the party of the KKK. It is the party of slavery. It is that is the Democratic Party. It goes further than that. It's the party of Margaret Sanger. Who is Margaret Sanger? She is the founder of Planned Parenthood, which was initially designed to destroy the black community. Okay, and it has had its hand in damaging the black community quite a bit, and just marginalizing the men and removing men from the families, and paying women to stay home and raise fatherless babies and things like that. That was a hell of a campaign, and it really did a number on our society as a whole. So when I think of race, I hate the word race. Okay, first of all, we are separated only by ethnicity, but because we're all here in America and we're all essentially Americans, we are no different. We are just people in the same country, in the same nation with each other. Okay, we're not different races. We're just different ethnicities that came from different areas due to our families either being brought over here through slavery or migrating over here from other countries. All right, but nevertheless, here we are. Okay, and under God's roof, we all come from one man, so we're all related in that regard. So we're not different. We all bleed the same. Our hearts beat the same, and we all have dreams and aspirations. So the Democratic Party is really, in its history, a very evil and vile, despicable party. And a lot of that, as a younger man, I did not realize that. And when you really see what the Democratic Party was essentially doing, it's wow, man. It's very despicable. There was a time when the Democratic Party was known as the People's Party, where, taking care of the poor and the single mother and sticking it to the man was was the thing, and then you had the hippie movement and all that stuff, and make love not war, and it was a socialist movement, and it deals with the teachings of Karl Marx and communism, the Communist Manifestos, and all that type of stuff. And we see in history how this is played out. I mean, look at Cuba under communism. Look at China today under communism. Look at the Bolshevik Revolution with the USSR, which is today Russia, but was under communism. And then Germany, famously under communism with Hitler, and those types of dictatorships where people, you don't have a say, and censorship is the thing of the day when it comes to the government, and it puts the government in complete, utter monopoly over everything. And so today's Democratic Party has gotten exponentially worse. Okay, today it's subjective truth, my truth, your truth. If I think one thing is true and you think it's another truth, then what is actually truth? Because now we have flipped truth on its head, and it's no longer that thing, it's something else, right? It becomes an opinion. That's all we turn truth into an opinion, and we don't care about what facts are, So I wouldn't call myself a Republican, because even in that party, you once you put yourself in under those titles, you assume the things of those titles, right? And even in the Republican Party, there's a lot of disgusting things that goes on, right? It's like, I'm a devout Christian man, and the United States of America, I believe, was anointed for a reason. This nation was built by God, and we have a constitution that safeguards our Christian tenets. And I'm not saying that Muslims can't be here, Hindus can't be here, and all that other stuff. I'm not saying that at all. I mean, come legally and be a part of this great nation and be law-abiding citizens. That's all well and good. But what we have today is we have given the keys to the kingdom to these politicians, and unfortunately, the Democratic Party, the left, and those are even further left of the Democratic Party, it's just insane. It's a massive power grab, the censorship. And then when you bring up censorship, you get some Democrat, that they won't even stick to facts. When you bring up facts, what they try to do is gaslight you. And they try to debate you with things that are not even, they try to debate you with opinion, right? They can't even bring up facts. Look at CNN. Look at Scott Jennings when that woman tried to drown him out. And every time he was trying to talk, all she kept doing was talking over him. And he was stating facts that CNN themselves stated about Twitter, or now X, from Elon Musk, and how balanced it is and how unbalanced it used to be. And she all she did was try to bully over him and say it wasn't. But CNN's own reporting showed on their own network that it actually is. It's very well balanced now. So that's my point. You look at the show The View, which is the most egregious show on any network. It's an insane show that they have these people, these women on there that spew the most ridiculous things. It's unbelievable how this show is even still on the air. And look, ladies, there are a lot of you women are very intelligent, very intuitive, and I don't know how someone who can be right-minded, okay, sane, and objective can watch that show and like it, right? If you are objective, you can never watch that show other than for research purposes only. You know, that's what's so crazy about it. That's why I could never be a Democrat, because the Democratic Party stands for what is diametrically opposed to objectivity, sanity, good human moral values and things like that. It's just, it makes no sense. It's like the more progressive some of these real small minority groups have become, the Democratic Party has latched onto it in order to gain power. We're dealing with the LBGTQ alphabet community, right? And how insane that has got. Look, if you want to be a gay person, be a gay person. That's entirely up to you. That's not my business. I don't care who you sleep with or have multiple partners. I don't care. But I should not be forced to take part in your lifestyle. I should not be forced to celebrate it, right? Because I don't force you to take part in my heterosexual lifestyle or to even celebrate it, because that's just me, right? That's just part of who I am. And so I choose to live my life that way, mainly because it's natural for me, is how this is the natural man. Anything unnatural, once you go outside the realms of what is natural, then there are consequences built in to these things. And that's your business to deal with. All right. Now, I would tell anybody what the biblical mandate on that stuff is. And we would do so out of respect and love and things like that, dealing with 1 Peter 3:15, where we get the command from God that we are supposed to engage in these things, but we do so, out of love and respect and gentleness. All right. So an argument with me would never happen. I'm not going to argue with you. If you want an argument, I'm not the person. Now, if you want a discussion and what the Bible says, I will entertain that discussion, but you will not get an opinion from me. I'm not interested in giving you opinions about what the Bible says. I'm only interested in giving you what the Bible says. So if you want to know my opinion, just go to the Bible. All right, read the Bible. So with that, there's that. Where the Democratic Party is now, they try to say they don't censor people, right? But what they want to do is, if you don't agree with them, they try to shut you down, like the woman Philip did to Scott Jennings. And beautiful woman that she is, and she's by all intents and purposes, I can tell she's intelligent, but she is either being paid to carry a narrative, or she believes in a narrative. But that's all it is a narrative, because she did not state one fact, and actually she contradicted her own network that factually stated a statistic based off of X. And on top of that, she was very disrespectful to one of the colleagues on that show, when he brought up the facts. And she just talked right over him. So that is essentially how the Democratic Party works. If you don't agree and go along with them, they try to censor you and shut you up. That is communism, people. And they try to say, oh yeah, well, if Elon Musk buys MSNBC, then there's not gonna be free speech anymore. Well, what did he do with X? Do we not see what he did with X? He opened X up to anyone who had an opinion, right? Where there's no censorship. The government can't censorship you and all that type of stuff. And now we're looking at Zuckerberg right now is trying to cozy up to Trump, because Facebook is under a lot of scrutiny at the moment. Whether you guys know that or not, there are some big things going on with Facebook right now. They're getting looked at pretty hard. So even Zuckerberg right now, his worldview on this level is actually changing. All right, I guess he's becoming not just being conservative, right? Let's get rid of the conservative tag, and let's just look at these values as us being natural men, natural women, believing in what God has set in place and not walking out of the bounds of that, right? We said God has drawn lines. Boop. and we are within those lines. We're not going anywhere outside those lines. This is conservatism. All right. Once you go outside the bounds of those lines, there are going to be consequences. You might not readily see the consequences because sometimes consequences form over years. And this is what we're seeing with America, right? And the sexual deviancy of America, dealing with, homosexuality, pedophilia is rampant, the sex trafficking, sexual deviancy is not always about homosexuality. We're dealing with, look, the pedophilia issue in America, even in the whole world, is absolutely astronomical. The sex rings, things like that. If you watch the PBD podcast, he's interviewed that woman from Belgium who was a sex slave as a very young girl, not even her mother was pimping her out at the age of like 5 or 6 or whatever. And now we deal with the lady dealing with Pornhub, Layla Mickelwait, I think her name is, dealing with Pornhub. So we're dealing with Layla Mickelwait dealing with Pornhub. And so the sexualization of our nation is really hurting America. It's hurting the world. But America mostly because it seems like the concentration is here, right? If you're dealing with Epstein and all the Diddy issues, and the sex parties and all that type of stuff, America is sick. And it's because of sexual deviancy. It's very sick. The battle has been against the family, people. And it's really a battle against God. But, the family is under attack. The nuclear family is under attack. Fathers removing men, or let's go further than that, right? The attack on young boys so they don't become men, right? Telling a young boy, you can be a girl. We can chop your penis off and we can give you pills and you'll never have to become a boy or turn into a man. Well, no matter how much surgery you do or how many pills you feed him, he's never going to be a woman. He will never be a girl. All right. His biology, his physiology will never change in its essence. He will just be a mutated, just a butchered boy and a butchered man. It doesn't matter how long he grows hair, how many pills, how many hormone pills he takes, how much surgery he has. He's just a mutilated boy, a mutilated man. And vice versa with women. How many surgeries or testosterone pills you take, you'll just be a mutilated woman. And it's so sad that we're doing this to our country, to the world, and to our children, and that common sense is not so common anymore. It's actually acquired. So we're trying to destroy the family. And when you destroy the family, you don't get children brought up properly. Even in African American households from back in the day, it was very conservative. Young men and women were being brought up by mothers and fathers together with a family. And then, here comes Margaret Sanger and the welfare state, and they try to pay the African American woman to not have her husband or not have her man in the house with her anymore, because if she does, they'll take away all her money, and then it's like you incentivize fatherless households. You incentivize that, so these young men and women do not grow up with fathers. This it's just a very systemic way of destroying American families. It does do away with the racial tension. Look at it as a whole, because it has affected everybody. All right. Today, it's not about racial issues, right? Because what they're doing, they're trying to gaslight and pit people against each other. It's the divide and conquer strategy. So there has to be a pushback on that. And I'm not saying you have to be Republican, right? But what I'm telling you is use your eyes, look at what is actually happening, and get out of your feelings. Look at the facts. Do your research. Look at the facts. Stop being a pawn and a puppet. Stop letting them tell you how you're supposed to feel. Stop letting them tell you that, giving you their take, their spin on what they want you to believe what reality is. And this is why media is failing today, right? Because it's going away to podcasters who are actually getting on TV. They're getting on YouTube and X and all these other platforms and Spotify and stuff, and they're bringing people in. They're doing real interviews. They're doing real work. All right, getting to the bottom of issues and reporting right in real time on issues where the legacy media is feeding you a narrative that can't even be proven. Right? They try to create a false narrative, hoping that you hook onto it, and then you think it's facts because they said it is. Right? Stop believing just what people say. Make them prove it. Right? We got to make them prove it. So you got to hold their feet to the fire, make them prove everything they're saying according to their narrative. Okay, you want me to follow what you're saying? Prove it. Let's show the facts. Let's dig up the bodies. Let's see what's really going on behind closed doors. Let's open these doors. Let's see what really Congress, Senate, everyone's talking about. Why is there a secret voting for the House chair or the like Thune, who got voted in, but it was a secret vote that no one knows who voted for who. Let's see who voted for who. Oh, I know, it was itching like crazy. This is the problem with our nation, is we have given unparalleled power to our politicians, but even more than that, to the unelected bureaucrat, right? Who's making regulations, things like that's completely unconstitutional, because all regulations have to be approved through elected officials, i.e. Congress, the Senate, representatives, House representatives, all right? An unelected bureaucrat cannot make a regulation. It's completely unconstitutional, all right? All regulations have to go through the process, like any law, right? Because regulations become law that an industry has to follow. So there's that. I could never be, and I can't never side with this disgusting Democratic Party, right? If you bring me the truth, I will side with the truth. I will not side with the party. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. It doesn't matter whatsoever. I can only side with the truth. And that is common sense, right? That should be common sense. But common sense can only be acquired. It's not so common in us anymore because we're doing away with it. If it's not according to how we feel, we toss it out. It's not according to what we make up to be the popular narrative, then it just doesn't make sense. And so that's what people want to believe. People are living in a fantasy world. They're living in a world that they think is subjective, and objectivity is being thrown out the window. So this is why I'm not the biggest Trump supporter, because I like Trump to a certain extent. All right. I think that Trump can say he's a Christian, but when it comes down to it, I don't think his values are 100% aligned with Christianity, as far as the biblical mandate is, anyways. So people who think, oh my God, he's a Christian nationalist. Trump is not a Christian nationalist. He's not, right? Actually, I reject that identity at all. I'm a male, I'm a man, I'm a Christian, and I live in this country, and I believe in God above everything. And but our government has a duty to that end. And if the government does not function in the appropriate duty that God has ordained government to be, they will be held accountable, And all of you will also be held accountable. And that, including me, I will be held accountable. So I think our nation, because of the deviancy that we have showed over the last 100 years, I think our nation is probably under judgment right now, and we're walking a very fine line that we really need to stop and consider. We really need to stop and consider. So I would ask everyone on here who watches the video to pray for this nation, right? Not just for yourself, pray for the nation, that God intervenes in our affairs to save us from our own demise, save us from our own sin, to save us from these things, save America from examples like the fall of Rome, like Rome and Greece and Egypt and all the great nations that came before us that have fell. And most of these nations have fell inwardly, right? Look at Rome. That was an inward plague, man. And we are, this is essentially a Roman-esque type of country and government system. That's where we get a lot of our stuff. And we're following the same thing, all the sexual deviancies, the pedophilia, the trafficking of kids. And some of these politicians and our celebrities and millionaires and billionaires, they all have something to do with it. I'm not saying all of them, but but there's a lot of that behind closed doors. And there's the using the government to get rich, like Nancy Pelosi and them. It's like, how do you become so ridiculously wealthy after you get into politics like this? Well, it's all the insider trading and things like that, the secret knowledge they're receiving in order to invest properly behind the scenes is what's made them rich. And even there's Republicans too have done it. So I think there's a lot of that has to be uncovered. People need to be investigated and prosecuted. Justice, us as American citizens, we need justice, because we have been grossly misrepresented because we pay the bills. That means we're supposed to be in charge, and the government is supposed to serve, but that's not the way it is. Now the government is the boss and we are the employee. And so that's how it really works. This is why I can't be a Democrat, man. It's entirely ridiculous the way the Democratic Party is. And I used to be that when I was younger. And as the truth is brought to the light, and I see how disgusting it really is, and how progressively liberal it has become over time, and for the Democratic Party to now be completely unrecognizable and entirely disgusting. All right. So with that, there you have it, guys. That's my take. You can decide for yourself on that level. But like and subscribe, man. I trucking videos, things like that. I haven't done a video on scripture in quite a while. Maybe I will do something here soon. I'm not really sure, right? I'm going through a transition phase in my life, since this whole year has been a year of transition for me. So that's still happening. And I have some good things coming up over the next few months, and I can't wait for those few months to go by, because something very transformative is going to occur. And I'm so anticipating it, and I can't wait to tell you. So with that, I love you guys. I don't care what your political leaning is on that level. If you're here, we can share ideas, share knowledge, share reality. Don't give me your opinion without facts, people. Okay? So with that, deuces.